last part of lecture number 6, in which we talked about Peter's sickness and how mother dealt with it. We said that we will talk in lecture 7 about the poem that mother has written for Peter on the occasion of his weakness. This is part of what the author said about mother. She was almost always there, ready to play with the children and to read them stories. She also wrote poetry for them on many occasions, especially on their sicknesses. The reason why I want to focus on the poem is that there is a very close connection between the poem at the start and the course of the whole novel. For those of you who attended the modern novel with me, in which we discussed Animal Farm, you must remember that there was a song by Old Major, speech and then a song. The speech and the song were very important. Why? Because they had a relationship with the novel. There is some kind of parallelism. You can say this point in the poem or in the song has a parallel point in the novel. Like this, if you go quickly, you will find a table: the poem, and the novel. The poem, the novel. You see, the poem and the novel. I have explained it in the form of a table like this in order to make it easy. Understand? Why? Because there is a close connection between the poem at the start and the course of the whole novel. Okay? Is there a relationship between the poem and the novel? Yes, there is, of course. Okay? Let us read the poem for pleasure. We have the right to have pleasure as well. He had an engine that he loved. He is anyone that the poem talks about, but we understand that it talks about Peter, of course. He had an engine that he loved with all his heart and soul. Beast of England, beast of Ireland, beast of every land and clime. Very interesting. He had an engine that he loved with all his heart and soul, and if he had a wish on earth, it was to keep it whole. One day, my friends, prepare your minds, I'm coming to the worst. Quite suddenly, a screw went mad, and then the boiler burst. Remember the one line, and then the dreadful change came quite suddenly. Here, the same. Quite suddenly. One day, my friends, prepare your minds, I'm coming to the worst. Quite suddenly, a screw went mad. And then the boiler burst. With gloomy face, he picked it up and took it to his mother. When there is a trouble, the engine is the toy, the train, the small train that he has. It has broken down, like their life that has broken down. When the train breaks down, they try to fix it with father and then with mother. When life collapses for the whole family, they look at mother to protect them and help them, to safeguard them from the hardships of life. For those who perished on the line, he did not seem to care, his engine being more to him than all the people there. When he takes care of the train, the toy, he seems to have no interest at all in the world outside. He's just interested in his own toys. This is realistic. Children are like that. And now we see the reason why our Peter has been ill. He soothes his soul with pigeon pie, his knowing grief to kill. Last part. He wraps himself in the blankets warm and sleeps in bed till late, determined thus to overcome his miserable fate. And if his eyes are rather red, his cold must just excuse it. Offer him pie, you may be sure he never will refuse it. Here, this is the poem in general. We will explain it. On your left hand corner, okay, you have the poem, and on your right hand corner there is there is the novel itself. First of all, the poem, and then the novel. He had an engine that he loved with all his heart and soul, and if he had a wish on earth, it was to keep it whole. That is to say, he and his sisters had a family that they loved so much and wanted to keep this kind of happiness forever. Just like the engine, the toy that Peter had, he wanted to keep it forever. One day, my friends, prepare your minds, I'm coming to the worst. Quite suddenly a screw went mad, and then the boiler burst. With gloomy face he picked it up and took it to his mother. As I was saying a minute ago, the writer said in the novel, and this is the book, the dreadful change came quite suddenly. In one small sentence here, we read this: the dreadful change came quite suddenly. After here, one day, my friends, prepare your minds, I'm coming to the worst. Quite suddenly a screw went mad. The dreadful change came quite suddenly. After telling us about this perfect family, we are told here it's a perfect family. Now we are told that something serious will change the life of the whole family dramatically. Mother at once takes responsibility of the family, as in the poem he took it to his mother. That is to say, mother took responsibility for the family. The next part of the poem: children were happy with their parents. They had everything they dreamt of. This is what the poem tells us. Peter is happy with his engine. The engine was everything that he needed. Suddenly father disappeared. Suddenly the engine broke down. For those who perished on the line, he did not seem to care. Perished, that is to say, disappeared or died or were killed. He did not seem to care, his engine being more to him than all the people there. Because they means all the children, including Peter. They were so happy and satisfied, so they stopped thinking of the world outside. And now you see the reason why our Peter has been ill. Notice our Peter. He soothes his soul with pigeon pie, his knowing grief to kill. To avoid being sad over the absence of the father, the children busy themselves with playing with the toys. To wrap himself in blankets warm, he wraps himself in blankets warm and sleeps in bed till late, determined thus to overcome his miserable fate. The first thing they do when mother is busy is that they do not believe what has happened to father, and so they are busy playing. In the first days after father is arrested, the children do not believe that he has gone away. They keep waiting for him. But as children, they have a weak memory and they are prone to forgetting, so they begin to forget him little by little, except one, of course, which is Roberta, the eldest one. And if his eyes are rather red, his cold must just excuse it. Offer him pie, you may be sure he will never refuse it. Once you offer children something to eat or to be interested in, that is to say, occupy their minds, always make their minds occupied, they will forget the serious troubles their families suffer from. And that is why when father is taken away and they move to another place and they find the main attraction, which is the road, the railway station and so on, they begin to forget father and to be busy noticing the train and visiting it several times and knowing people and introducing themselves to the people there. Peter, with heroic, this is another part of the chapter, with heroic unselfishness did not say anything about his engine till after father had his dinner and his after dinner cigar. The unselfishness was mother's idea, but it was Peter who carried it out, and it needed a good deal of patience too. Of course, I want you to know the general meaning of the passage. There was something heroic about Peter when father came. The engine has broken down and father was away at work. He came back before the arrest. He came back. Once father comes back, and if the child has a problem, he will automatically talk to father about his problem. But this time Peter is described as heroic and unselfish and patient. Who taught him to be heroic and patient? It is mother. He did not ask father to mend the engine directly, but he waited until father had had his dinner. Not just his dinner, but also his cigar. The role of the mother in teaching politeness to children. Children's literature is a didactic, and the beautiful thing about the railway children is not just the fact that it is didactic. The beautiful thing is that it is didactic in an indirect way. The best kind of education, the best kind of teaching, I'm not saying moralizing or preaching, but teaching has to be indirect. By example, you give an example of yourself. You do not lie. Don't tell the children do not lie, but practice this on yourself. Do not lie, and they will never lie. But keep telling them lying is bad all the day through, all the day over, and lie once or twice, then they will lie. Do you understand? Another example from the chapter. While father is fixing the engine, Peter loves his father so much and wants to imitate him. He says, "Can girls help to mend engines?" Peter asked doubtfully. Doubtfully, that is to say, he doubts that girls can also mend engines. Now father is a male person, and he is now mending the engine. Can girls, like his sisters, mend engines? Of course they can. See, father, a very wise one. Girls are just as clever as boys, and don't you forget it. How would you like to be an engine driver, Phil? Talking to Phil, the youngest one, the funniest one. What is Phil's idea? My face would be always dirty, wouldn't it? Said Phyllis in unenthusiastic tones. I expect I should break something. She's just a lovely, nice, funny darling. All the time she breaks something, or she is clumsy about something. Roberta says, I should just love it. Do you think I could mend an engine when I grow up, Daddy? Or even a stoker? You mean a fireman? Said Daddy, pulling and twisting at the engine. He is fixing the engine and talking to Peter, Phyllis, and Roberta. The novel indirectly talks about the call for the emancipation of women, what is regarded as the feminist movement. I emphasized this point in lecture 6. I told you that mother did not wait Dolly at home. Mother did not pay dull visits to dull ladies, waiting Dolly for other dull ladies to pay them visits. Do you understand? She was different. And in an indirect way, the writer was saying that women have to be different and they have to engage themselves in serious business. The example here is, can girls help to mend engines? Peter asked doubtfully. Of course they can. Girls are just as clever as boys. Peter represents all men who see women as unable to perform many things, and that also is said in an indirect way. Father is so wise, he is aware that boys and girls, men and women, are equal in many respects, so he does not support his son against his daughters. He is just, he is fair, and he is wise. All this is done indirectly, and this is very important. The novel indirectly talks about the call for the emancipation of women, what is regarded as the feminist movement. Does it do that directly or indirectly or casually? It does that indirectly. Peter's way of dealing with his sisters suggests that he is like all boys who do not trust in the power of girls. He does not have trust in himself. His sisters do not like him. Answer number 1 is correct. Please him, she, that is to say Ruth, the servant, when there is a knock on the door, the servant comes, her name is Ruth, and she comes quickly saying, please him, please madam, the master wants you to just step into the study. He looks like the dead man. I think he's had bad news. You'd best prepare yourself for the worst, and perhaps a death in the family or a bank busted, or... She is not the same sort of woman as madam. The way she talks shows this. She's just a servant, and a very bad kind of servant as well. Mother is wise, just like father is wise. What does mother do? She says, that will do, Ruth. Stop it, yani. That will do, said mother. But she said that gently. She has not chastised her. She has not stopped her curtly. She says, that will do, Ruth. Gently, you can go. Comment in the way each woman expresses herself. There is a lot of difference, of course. I say, Ruth, what's up? He asked. Peter later asks Ruth, what has gone wrong? What has happened? Don't ask me no questions. I won't tell you no lies. The red-headed. She is red-headed. See the description. In an indirect way, the writer shows us how Ruth is rough and vulgar. You know soon enough. Don't ask me no questions. The child is curious. He forgets that it is wrong to ask servants about the affairs of the family. Ruth is rude and cannot select her words. All this is true. To London, Ruth said, and left them to their breakfast. There is something awful the matter, said Peter, talking to his sisters. Ruth told me last night we should know soon enough. He looks like a grown-up person. Did you ask her? Said Roberta with scorn, which means that she knew that asking servants questions was not right. Yes, I did, said Peter angrily. If you could go to bed without caring whether mother was right or not, I couldn't, so there. I'm different from you. I care about mother and about father. I don't think we ought to ask the servants things mother doesn't tell us, said Roberta. She's the eldest, she is wise too, she is nice. That's right, Miss Goody, said Peter. Preach away. The conversation between Peter and Roberta is a very interesting one, and it is realistic, and it shows also the differences between boys and girls. Peter takes the role of the father after father is arrested. He takes the role of the father. The writer draws a very interesting picture of how boys love to show themselves as in control of girls, even when their parents are busy. This is quite realistic. The novel has a lot of very similitude, of course. It has a lot of very similitude, a lot of realism. Girls are less adventurous, more decent, as shown in Roberta's reply, but they know among themselves that it was quite wrong to ask Ruth about their father. It was nearly 7 before she came in. That's mother. All the children attend to her and take care of her. One of them takes the long pins out of her hat. One of them takes her gloves off. And Peter also unfastens her walking shoes. Mother starts searching for work in order to support the family. She does not tell her kids the real reason behind the absence of father. She doesn't, of course, do that. The kids are polite. Their happy life in the villa gave them a lot of decency and politeness, as when they take care of their tired mother. You can help me very much, said mother, by being good and happy and not quarreling when I'm away. Peter and Roberta exchange guilty glances. For I shall have to be away and a good deal, so don't quarrel. They look at each other because they have quarreled. We won't quarrel. Indeed we won't, said everybody, and meant it to. Then mother went on, I want you not to ask me any questions about this trouble, and not to ask anybody else any questions, like Peter has asked the servant. And when she says that, Peter cringes. He cringes, that is to say, he feels sad. He shuffles his boots on the ground. "You'll promise this too, won't you?" said Madam. "I did ask Ruth." He feels sorry. Suddenly, "I'm very sorry, but I did." He's frank. He has been taught, he has been educated that this is wrong. So he admits. And what did she say? She said, "I should know soon enough. It's not necessary for you to know everything about it." Said Mother, "It's about business. And you never do understand business, do you, my dear?" Very nice way of talking to him. The novel has a lot of very similitude, of course. The way the novel is narrated is superior to methods of narration in the 19th century, which were direct. Not similar, but superior, better than those ways of narration. "Then don't you worry either, Mother," said Phyllis, the youngest one, "and we'll be as good as gold." Mother said, "I want you to be good." Do you understand? She wanted them to be good and not ask any questions. Phyllis remembers this and says, "We'll be as good as gold." Mother sighed and kissed them. "We'll begin being good." Look at the word good, good, and here also the word good is implicit. Good, good. But each time it is repeated. Here, good as gold, being good now, being good about it, to feel good. As we said, there is repetition, but it is variant. "We'll begin being good the first thing tomorrow morning," said Peter as they went upstairs. "Why not now? There is nothing to be good about now, silly," said Peter. "We might begin to try to feel good and not call names." Very nice one. There is a lot of repetition. In the novel, there is a lot of repetition. That is either the repetition redundant or boring or useless or funny and important. The repetition is funny and important. Of course, we have covered almost the major part of chapter 1. I have tried to analyze the passages selected from the novel for your own benefit. Little by little, we are taught in an indirect way that the novel tackles a number of very important points, on top of which is the relationship between men and women, or what I've called feminism. We also have an application of many of the characteristics of children's literature. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.